Hello and welcome to the PFFUI podcast. On this month's episode, President Tony Murray and Communications Director Erik Scheub speak with PFFUI 2nd District Vice President and Fort Wayne Metro Firefighters Local 124 President Jeremy Bush. Jeremy talks about his career in the fire service, becoming a union leader, and shares details on the 49th PFFUI Convention in May. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the PFFUI podcast. My name is Erik Scheub, and I'm joined today by President Tony Murray. Hey, Tony, how are things going today?
Erik, things couldn't be going any better.
Yeah, and it's a big day for us too, isn't it?
It is a big day because we're on the podcast.
We're going to do something different on this month's podcast, Tony. Over the last few months, we've had new additions on the PFFUI Executive Board serving our brothers and sisters across the state of Indiana. We wanted to take an opportunity and introduce them to our members over the next few months.
Yeah, I think that we a lot of new faces, a lot of people, in different positions. And I think as you and I discuss, what might be interesting to do a podcast about, we like to put a lot of information out there, but to sprinkle in some of the new faces and some of the new executive board members as guests of the podcast, I think that that's something interesting.
And I know that I've seen these guys before, and I've worked with some of these guys before, but I have to be honest, I don't really know much about them. So I think this is a great opportunity, not just for our members, but a chance for our executive board members to get to know their colleagues.
The more you know, Erik.
Yeah, so we are joined by 2nd District Vice President Jeremy Bush.
Jeremy, glad to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm glad to be here, guys. How are you two?
I'm doing well.
Tony, you have a voice for radio, buddy.
Thank you. Good. Face for it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you're a good looking dude. I think you got
thanks. The flattery. So one of the things that we've been working on is trying to get acquainted a little bit with some of our new elected officers from the PFFUI. And Jeremy, you were just elected at the last convention as the 2nd District Vice President for the PFFUI. So you're about 7 months into this now. And you're also the president of Fort Wayne Metro Local 124. So before we kind of get into it, can you just give a little bit of background about yourself and the fire service and maybe then how you got involved in the local?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in my 25th year now on the fire department. I got on when I was around 20 years old. Pretty fortunate, if it wouldn't have been for the department, I probably would have been digging some ditches, which, is valued work. But I'm much more appreciative of the opportunity that I have now within the fire service. So, within the first couple of years of my career, I started to get involved in our PAC committee, worked my way up, actually, I think maybe year 6 or 7 on the department and became our PAC chair. Got more entrenched in what that was and what it does for the firefighters. And obviously politics is all around us. And I decided to run for union president. So here 14, 15 years later, as Local 124's president, on a daily basis, I've been advocating for the brothers and sisters and trying to do my best job to take care of them and their families. What really drove me to head in that direction, honestly, is some of the leaders that we've had in the past. We were very fortunate in Fort Wayne to have some extraordinary leaders. Jim Ridley was our local president for about a decade. He was also the state's vice president. And Treasurer Mike Pinkham, he served on our board here locally in Fort Wayne, and then also obviously is the state treasurer. So just watching what they did and how they advocated with the passion and the commitment they had to all of our brothers and sisters out there, Tom Hannafy, others. And then obviously now, watching you and the work you're doing, Erik, others, I really think that we're heading in a great direction. So it just kind of caused me to want to get more involved. I ran for the trustee position, saw, the work that Cody did as a DVP, and lo and behold, the opportunity came along when he kind of moved up, and I felt like it was kind of my time to step into that DVP role and, try to help out what I could. So that's kind of what drove me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, and just kind of breaking this down a little bit. So, first of all, 124's produced some real legends, some legends in Jim Ridley, Mike Pinkham. I think Erik would agree.
Oh, yeah.
Is there legends, legendary?
Yes, they are definitely legends in the fire service, and they are legends in the firefighter union in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, so it comes as no surprise that you would want to follow in those footsteps, Jeremy. What year did you actually get elected to Fort Wayne Local 124 president?
So I think it was at the end of 2010 is when I got elected as president. So, Jim Ridley had moved up to work for the International. He vacated his position, and our vice president's time and kind of stepped up to do the presidential duties for about 7, 8, 9 months, I think. And then I ultimately ran for that position at that time. So I think right around the end of 2010 is when it happened.
Okay, so you immediately succeeded Jim Ridley. Is that right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yes, with a short stint of another president, but yes, probably big shoes to fill. Like you said, I mean, legends. I mean, you also, for those out there listening, I mean, Jim Ridley, and his family, he had a pioneer. Part of his family was the first African American hired on to the Fort Wayne Fire Department.
That's right.
So, he's been a part of history all the way through the fire service.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of history, I think, in Fort Wayne Local 124, and before we sort of get in just to a little bit more about the details of kind of what the job of being president on 124 looks like, I just want to touch a little bit about the 2nd District. So you mentioned Cody. So Cody was your immediate predecessor in the 2nd District Vice President, but then Ron Mickle, who's a member of Local 124, served in that role as the 2nd District Vice President for many years. As he succeeded, I think, Mike Whited, who moved into to the Vice President position of the state union. But so the 2nd District Vice President is direct conduit to the PFFUI principal officers, and represents several counties. But how many locals? How many locals off the top?
26, I believe, is the number.
Yeah. So the 2nd District is a pretty big district. So stretching from Northeast Indiana, Fort Wayne area down through sort of, Kokomo and sort of a diagonal line through Lafayette, and then takes a path east, really encompassing east to Richmond, Newcastle, Connorsville, so that particular area of the state. The 2nd District Vice President joins our other 5 district vice presidents as the elected executive board, along with the president, secretary, treasurer, and vice president of the PFFUI. So these 9 people, 6 district vice presidents, 3 principal officers, make up the executive board of the PFFUI. So in that role, you serve to represent these districts, but also it's safe to say, and you were sort of thrust into this, transitioning from the regional trustee, but into the district vice president with 26 locals. There's always something happening. And you, and like all of our district vice presidents, bring with you a level of experience in union leadership, where you can serve as a way to help locals, achieve their goals. We don't run the locals from the state union perspective, but we provide resources and tools to help locals be successful, right? So that kind of sets up the model of, for listeners to, well, what is a DVP, for the state union? So that's would you agree that's sort of the basic lineup of what a DVP does?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I was, with being thrust into that position, and I feel like I've been extremely appreciative of your leadership, because from the time I started, even as a trustee, you have welcomed a lot of conversations when we meet as a board. And I think that that's important to get feedback. I heard this, and it's probably the corniest damn thing in the world, but, like the iron sharpens iron thing. And I think that being a part of that has really opened my eyes up. And so, yeah, I mean, I love the opportunity. We're getting to work with the different locals, but we really do serve as kind of the conduit piece to help facilitate things they need from, whether it's a state or international, or like you said, just experience of all the things that, we've dealt with throughout our careers and leadership positions. We're kind of in a unique position to maybe help guide some of the decisions that they make, or maybe give them a different perspective on what they can do in any one scenario. So, yeah, I love the opportunity.
So from the Local 124, Fort Wayne, You started at a pretty early. You got involved in it early in your career and rose to the level of being the local president for Fort Wayne. Talk a little bit about the numbers of members. You have active members, you've got retired members, and then talk a little bit about what you and the executive board have done in the most recent couple of years to expand the footprint of Local 124.
Yeah, I think, kind of another thing of why we do what we do, but, I really recognize, I think maybe the older I've gotten, the power and the ability that we all have being unified, and it makes a difference if we stand together. And, over the years, our manpower's going up and down. We've averaged around 350 firefighters in Fort Wayne. We're hovering maybe a little bit above that right now, but over the past couple years, and really, this isn't something that I thought up of. I stole this from Indianapolis and other areas where they're doing this. And really, picking the brain of previous president, Jim Ridley, started looking at expanding the footprint of Local 124 into our, county. There's been some districts formed and territories formed here over the past couple of years. And we've been given an opportunity to unionize all of these entities. Right now, we unionize 4 out of 5 of them, which means we've added about 120 firefighters so far. So we're at about 470 active members of Local 124. We have roughly about 140 or 150 retirees, but we're looking to even expand that. So over the next year or so, there's still one more district that will come in, and then some of these districts are continuing to hire. So I would anticipate us having probably an additional 60 or 70 members here in the next couple, maybe 6-7 months. So it's really provided us an opportunity to expand our political footprint, the larger numbers. And it's been pretty amazing opportunity to start working with the county and their leadership.
So, Jeremy, from your perspective, why is that important for Fort Wayne, for Allen County, and for the rest of the state to expand your roster in your local?
Well, I always say this, again, it's kind of corny, but we really have the best product in the world to sell, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy to sell all the time. But that unity, and I hate to hesitate to use the word power, but influence that you have, the more numbers you have, the more influential you are. We're kind of already considered sacred cows. I mean, especially by the cops. I mean, they all failed the firefighter exam, but I hope that you might want to edit that out, Eric. I don't know if any cats listen to this, but the fact that we are all in a position to make sure that nobody goes through a difficult situation alone. And that's really where I think that the most impactful part of what we do is that we make sure people don't go through things alone. And unity means something to me. And it encompasses accountability, advocating for fair and reasonable discipline or treatment, protecting our families and our future. And, I think ultimately for me, our job is to ensure that every firefighter goes home safe, they're paid appropriately and fairly for what they do, and that they retire with dignity. And, I think that's ultimately what drives all of us, is to ensure that those individuals have the resources and tools they need to do their job. And I think across the state, what gives us the ability to make those decisions are the things that the PFFUI does on the state level. I think a lot of maybe smaller locals, and, my work with the county, they weren't even aware of some of the rules and laws that have been enacted and implemented to the benefit of firefighters and public safety personnel. Things that even without a contract provide fundamental baseline protections for all of us. And they are impactful in every firefighter's day-to-day work. So I think that, the stronger that we are, the more unity we have, the more members that we have, the better off we are as an organization. And, the unfortunate reality is it takes money. I know nobody likes to pay for stuff, but as far as bang for the buck, paying into this organization provides value to all of us on just about every level of your job and every facet of what you do.
And I think that's important. And you mentioned unity and being unified as a fire service, for a variety of reasons. But would you agree too that helps us be more effective in delivering for our communities, being unified?
I think it does. And because to me, part of that unity is we hold ourselves accountable for what we do, because we don't get to make mistakes like maybe some others do out there, because on a bad day, you can cause somebody else to have a really terrible bad day or lose the most important thing in the world to them. So I think that unity to me is the most important piece of what we all have. And when I was younger, I didn't really understand what this was all about. the older I've gotten, I mean, it's a family, and I think that speaks volumes for what we do. I mean, as in any family, you're going to have some good and bad apples. But overall, I think that it really serves the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish. The more people we have on, in our system and on our team.
And I think that it wouldn't come as a shock to most people listening to this and who have met you, if I were to say that you are an outspoken advocate for your members.
What? Tony, come on. Nobody would describe me like that.
So with that in mind, and I think that with our podcast we're reaching a more diverse audience of listeners, in terms of time on the job and being part of the local. Maybe we have listeners who they pay their dues and they're a member of the local, but they really maybe don't show up to meetings or really pay attention to what's going on. As you sort of reflect back, like what advice would you have to newer members of the local about why is it important to belong, but why is it also important to be engaged and to be an active participant in your local?
One of the most important things I think, the state legislatures, they hear your guys' opinions every day. My local, I go out and advocate to city council and the mayor and other elected officials. They hear from us every single day. Engaging, like, us just being down at the State House and them hearing from a diverse group of firefighters standing in a room. I think the value and the impact it has is sometimes our voices, not to say that we're not effective, but sometimes they're so used to hearing you, or I say you, I mean me, every single day. When they see other members show up, they see other members participate in what we're doing, and they see buy-in from our organization, it makes our jobs that much easier to sell our product and sell what we're trying to accomplish. And they see that firefighters are passionate about that. Something I honestly think.
And would it also, not to interrupt, but does that also, seeing the members be involved, help to validate or reinforce the message that's coming from leadership?
I think that's probably the most important thing, right? Because they can hear from us. They say that we're united, but when you actually show up and you take action, you go to an event and there's 60, 70, 20, whatever it is, firefighters that show up, it shows that you're willing to actually put into action what you're saying. And I think that drives that message home more than anything. We can put on paper what we want. We can talk one-on-one with politicians, et cetera. But when the members show up and like you get a call to action and they show that they're willing to do the work, I think that's the most impactful thing that we have. And that goes back to that unity thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. As you sort of, continue your work, as a local president and as a district vice president, now on the state association level of things, what do you hope that you're able to leave behind for the next generation of union leadership?
Absolutely. That's a good question. So I kind of feel like our job is to secure resources, respect, and protections that firefighters have earned. I think for the next generation, I want to make sure that this generation, you, me, others are leaving behind a stronger, more united union. And I think that that's what leads to the respect and us being effective and the relentless advocating that we're able to do for rights and benefits. And I really think the younger generation, I will honestly say there's some things that, you're like, oh, younger guys do this and that. I think they really do understand the unity aspect of it. I see, at least in our group, that in Fort Wayne, that they're more unified in their conversations. They hang out with each other more than maybe the older generation does. But I think that, what I want to leave is that, continue to be or work towards being well organized. It's going to lead to you being the most influential in what you're trying to accomplish, putting our firefighters and their families first. And the more they do that, the more effective they will be for years to come. So it's really driving home that we need to work collectively, and we're going to have difference of opinion. I mean, Tony, trying to corral 50 people to do one thing is like herding cats, right? But, we all have to realize, well, we just all have to realize that collectively we have the same goal in mind, and we may look at things differently and how to accomplish that. But the more we work collective and the more we trust our leaders like you and others, give you the power and the ability to speak on our behalf, those things are what's going to get us to the the goal line and what we try to accomplish. So I think that trying to leave a well-organized organization and making sure they understand the value and working collectively and empowering somebody to speak on their behalf. That's what's going to really give us the ability to be successful.
I think that's pretty profound. And what else? Do you have any message that you'd like to leave behind as we wrap this segment?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I think again, you get younger in your career, things may not click or make the most sense to you. You start to get older and you start to see the value and what it is. I think we have all been given something pretty amazing to be on the fire department. Again, it may be a little goofy to say, but I don't know where I would have been in my life if it wouldn't have been for this job and the relationships I've established. And, to your point, Tony, obviously in the beginning part of my career, I was probably even a little more vocal than I am now.
That's one way.
And well, the thing is, I think until it starts clicking with you and you understand what that system is, I didn't understand. I came from, my background. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to being a part of a family like that. But I think that as you get older, you start to understand the value of that more and more. And I appreciate what you guys do, and I'm pretty fortunate to be a part of it and thankful.
Yeah. I think that's well said. And here's the interesting thing, that I think that this fire service, what it brings to everybody is an opportunity to raise a family, take care of your family, send your kids to school, and then earn a well-deserved and respected retirement after years of service, dedicated to others before yourself. And I think that the thing that the fire service, I think, delivers to us is a renewed sense maybe of standing for something, being a part of something that has a greater mission, right? And the mission to take care of people in need and their time of need is I think, to your point, a tremendous opportunity and a gift in many ways. And not everybody can do this job. But then there are, people who then rise to the next level and say, I want to represent the people that do this work because they're deserving of that representation. So I think that we're in we're really in a place we're blessed to be in these roles that our collective members have said that they want us to be in, because they believe in our ability to care for what's important. The other thing I would say, to kind of put a bow on this, is that when we get together and whether we're union leadership, together statewide at a conference convention, or we bring in newer people, we recognize that we're more similar than we are different, and it doesn't matter what part of the state. So I think that that's a really, really interesting benefit to this work as well. And I know that our members get that. We just finished up a education series last week, and then our legislative conference, where we have the opportunity to do all these things, be together, learn from each other, but then, as you mentioned, interact with us state legislators in the Indiana State Capitol, so that's a big deal. Not everybody gets to do that. In fact, as simple as it is, not everybody gets to do that.
I couldn't agree more.
Jeremy, before we get you out of here, we wanted to talk to you about the 49th PFFUI Convention. Local 124 will be hosting the convention this year, the last week of May, in Fort Wayne. We were wondering if you could share details on what our members can expect from this year's convention.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Hindsight's always 20/20, Eric. I think if I were to look back on it, maybe I would have bowed out that day and told Trent, "Hey guys, go ahead and Lafayette take over."
No take backs. Hear me? Take backs.
Honestly, I think it's to come to be able to showcase the city and all the advancements that I think that we've made, and to invite and have welcome all the firefighters from across the state into Fort Wayne to participate together. Camaraderie, et cetera. So we really tried to hit the ground running. We've got pretty much everything set up. We have a few events. The golf outing is the first day. We're going to have a couple live bands playing for some folks at the Union Hall. I think we're going to put together like a hog roast. We've rented a facility that's actually they've just got done renovating this place. It used to be like an old antique store, and they have these simulators in there where you can play golf or dodgeball, like any number of things. Duck pin bowling, et cetera. So we've rented out the entire floor of this building, and firefighters will have the ability to go in there and participate in that. And then we're going to have a live band kind of the last night on Thursday night at the local, and do a pub crawl with some what are those bikes called? I'm talking about, that you ride through downtown.
Oh, like a bike share sort of deal? Like you rent a bike?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, where you can. Well, not. It's like the ones where you get all. There's a table on it, and everybody drinks and rides.
Yeah, like a pedal bar. Something like
It's like a Pedal City. That's what. So Pedal City, we're going to bring some Pedal City bikes over, 3 or 4 of them, so firefighters can jump on those and kind of do a pub crawl throughout downtown. So we've got a lot planned. It's
So it's a pub
really
pedal, a pub pedal.
it's yes, you got to work some of that off.
Is that EV? Is that EV?
It is. I'll tell you this, when they first got to the city of Fort Wayne, I remember riding on one and it was just purely your own, horsepower. And I was like, I'm never riding those freaking things again. But now they're EV. Now they've got batteries, so you can kind of pedal and drink and
Turbo boost, a little assist. When
So yeah, we got exactly. So we've got something planned for every night. It should be a lot of fun. Business to be conducted, obviously, and we're looking forward to it. But I think we've got everything kind of dialed in, and we're looking forward to hosting everybody in May.
So for 2.5 days, we'll be right in downtown Fort Wayne at the convention center. Delegates and alternates gather. We got some guests. We try to incorporate some educational experiences, but also vet and chart the course of the PFFUI for the next year until we come together again for the next convention. So I will say that it's been more than 20 years since we've been in Fort Wayne. I don't remember the exact year, but I'm thinking it was like 2000, 2001, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was somewhere around
Yeah, right around there. A lot has happened. But I mean, I know when you guys did the Union Hall project and bought the old firehouse and revamped it, that wasn't done the last time we were in Fort Wayne. Was there a ballpark there?
No, I mean, none of that stuff. It's really the entire downtown. It's crazy how much has changed over the past 15, 20 years. But yeah, with the Union Hall, now all of the construction around the Union Hall. I mean, it's the downtown area has changed so much. It's pretty wild. But we were really hoping to have an event down at the Tin Cap Stadium one of the nights. Unfortunately, the Tin Caps are out of the state that night, so we weren't able to accomplish that. That really would have been, pretty fun. But we still have a lot planned and a lot of other things that we can do, and we'll have fun either way. But that would have been pretty awesome to be a part of.
Well, I look forward to being in Fort Wayne, putting my arm around Johnny Appleseed and gaveling in the 49th convention of the PFFUI. Jeremy, it's been great for you to be on the podcast today, talking a little bit about your history, your involvement with Local 124 in Fort Wayne, and now the PFFUI the last several months as a district vice president. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you for listening to the PFFUI podcast. Follow us on social media by searching the Professional Firefighters Union of Indiana. For more information about news and upcoming events, visit www.pffui.com. Until next time, this is PFFUI Communications Director Erik Scheub. Stay safe.